Science has come a long way. I mean, come on, we just found flowing water on Mars and we even played golf on the moon. But there's something that's way closer to us that we still haven't completely figured out. And that something is you, or to be more accurate, it's everybody. Despite the fact that we can now sequence the human genome and even trying for a head transplant, there are still some seemingly simple things about us that science so far hasn't been able to explain. Number 1, hip neck jerk. Ever lay in bed or sitting in a classroom or a boring meeting and you doze off and all of a sudden you feel like you're falling and you jerk awake? This is known as the hip neck jerk, or how they wake up in Inception. No one really knows why this phenomenon occurs, and there are only a couple of theories. The first is that hip neck jerks are a natural part of the body's transition from alertness to sleep and occur when nerves misfire during the process. The second theory is more of an evolutionary approach, and it says that the hip neck jerk is something ingrained in us because our ancestors used to sleep in trees, and the jerk is supposedly a reflex that stops us from nodding off and falling off the tree. I've got to say, the hip neck jerk is also really useful because seeing the hip neck jerk in action, really comes in handy during tense or awkward moments. Let's say you're breaking up with your significant other and it's very uncomfortable, it's very tense, and there's tears and snot everywhere, but then someone sleeping on a chair near you suddenly jerks awake and falls off the chair, and all of a sudden the entire atmosphere relaxes. That's like comedic manna from heaven. Number 2, sun sneezing. Ever been in a dark place and then walk outside into the bright daylight and start to sneeze uncontrollably? This is called sun sneezing with a photic sneeze reflex, which is a phenomenon that causes some people to have a sneezing fit when they look at bright daylight. Scientists call the effect, get this, an autosomal dominant compulsive helio-ophthalmic outburst, or ACHOO for short. And to this day, no one really knows why this happens. The only thing we know for sure is that this condition is most likely genetic. One possible explanation is that the eyes and nose area are closely linked via the fifth cranial or trigeminal nerve. This means that when the nerve is activated by bright light, the signal also kind of tickles the nose, tricking it into thinking that there is something irritating it and causing the sneeze. Although this condition may seem harmless, but it can be dangerous because every time you sneeze, you have to close your eyes, causing momentary blindness. So this could be an issue for pilots, athletes, tightrope walkers, with a guy with his head inside a lion's mouth at the circus. Number 3, the placebo effect. The placebo effect, also called the placebo response, is a remarkable phenomenon in which a placebo or a fake treatment, such as sugar, distilled water, or saline solution, can sometimes improve a patient's condition simply because the person has the expectation that it will be helpful. Basically, the more a person believes they're going to benefit from a treatment, the more likely it is that they will actually experience a benefit. Studies using placebos has been done many different times for various situations, from colds to cancers. For example, doctors would take two groups of people. One are given real pills for an ailment, while the other are given sugar pills. Both groups are told that the pills will help with their ailments. In some patients that take the sugar pills, studies have shown that it works at fighting their sickness just as well, if not better, than the actual pills. And what's even more mysterious is that this effect appears to still work even when you know you're taking a sugar pill. And it's not just pills. The placebo effect also works if you think you've had surgery. In 2002, a study was published where 180 patients who had osteoarthritis of the knee were randomly assigned, with their permission, to one of three groups. The first had a standard arthroscopic procedure, which surgeons would clean out the knee using arthroscopic devices. The second had lavage, in which a needle would inject saline into the knee to remove fragments of cartilage and calcium phosphate crystals that were causing inflammation. The third group, however, had sham surgeries. All they had was an incision, and that was it. The results were stunning. Those who had the actual procedure did no better than those who had the sham surgery. They all improved the same amount. The results were all in people's heads. These studies seem to suggest that the power our mind has to heal ourselves is greater than we have ever thought, and scientists have no idea why this happens. Number 4, yawning. We all yawn, even animals do it. Even animals we don't think do it, like snakes and fish. Even human babies do it inside the mother's womb. But yawning is pretty strange because, well, for one, no one really knows why it occurs. There are some ideas, with one being that yawns serve as a signal for our bodies to perk up, a way of making sure we stay alert, as yawning is usually followed by increased movement and physiological activity, which suggests that some sort of waking up has taken place. What's more strange is the fact that yawns are contagious. You can catch yawns from other people and even animals. Yawns are also easily suggestible. Just by reading or thinking about it makes you more likely to yawn. So let me know how many of you guys were yawning just now. Number 5, blushing. Franz de Waal, professor of primate behavior at Emory University in Georgia, identified blushing as one of the last missing pieces in the jigsaw of human development. In an article he wrote for New Scientist magazine, he said, "We're the only primate that blushes in response to blushing situations, shame, or when caught in a lie. And one wonders why we needed such an obvious signal to communicate these self-conscious feelings." You know, I have a theory about this. Maybe we're the only primate that blush because all the other primates run around naked all the time. And if you're okay with walking around naked all the time, then what's left to be blushing about? Anyway, one scientific theory is that blushing developed as a way of appeasing and submitting to dominant members of society. But that doesn't really make much sense because everybody blushes, even dominant members of society. Finally, number 6, sleep. Everyone needs sleep. Without it, we get cranky, we get a little bit loopy, and if we don't sleep for a long time, we could die. We spend over a third of our lives asleep, and we understand the negative consequences of not sleeping, but no one can figure out why these things happen and what sleep really does. Some researchers even regard sleep as one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of science. Theories range from brain maintenance, including memory consolidation and pruning, to reversing damage from oxidative stress suffered while awake, to promoting longevity. Another explanation for why we sleep is based on the long-held belief that sleep in some way serves to restore what is lost in the body while we are awake. Sleep provides an opportunity for the body to repair and rejuvenate itself. But none of these theories are well established, and many are mutually exclusive. I'll tell you a pro of not sleeping though: you won't ever be afraid of Freddy Krueger. See, that's one less thing to be worried about. Also, I do want to mention that when I do videos like this about things that science can't really explain, I'll get comments from people saying like, "Hey, I don't like it that you're saying science can't figure out stuff." Well, let's be honest here. There are a lot of things that science can't explain, but you know what? That's okay. It's good that there's still mystery left in the world. And I don't think science can't eventually figure out a lot of things, but we have to stay humble and know that there are things out there that is beyond our current level of understanding, and we should be open to them. All right, guys, if you have a good explanation for any of these, let me know. And again, an early access video is already up on vessel.com. That info is also in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. See you later.